Welcome to Lead with LeAnn, your definitive guide for exceptional leadership and successful entrepreneurship. Airing every week at 2 p.m. Pacific time, that would be 4 p.m. Central time, exclusively on winwinwomen.tv. I am your host, LeAnn, and I'm thrilled to be sharing this journey with you each week. On Lead with LeAnn, you'll join me as we delve into the inspiring stories of established leaders and innovative entrepreneurs. Can't wait to share who I'm introducing you to today. We'll uncover just what it takes to build a brand from scratch, lead with authority and grace, and turn business aspirations into tangible success. Our show is not only about imparting knowledge, it's about creating a community. It's a space for us to laugh, learn, and leap forward together in our quest for professional and personal growth. So, whether you're embarking on a new entrepreneurial adventure or looking to inject some, fresh energy into an existing one, there will always be insights for you here. So, get ready for a thought provoking conversation, enlightening insights, actionable advice, and the support of a network that champions the win win philosophy. Learn to lead with passion, purpose, and determination right here on Lead with LeAnn, and let's lead together. So let's start turning your goals into reality now, because my guest for today is a meta performance coach, helping people who have put their, dreams. Oh, wait, dreams? Yes, put their dreams on hold and to tap back into their vision of the expansive, brilliant life and turn what ifs into reality. Her background in both hospitality and private service, it cultivated her passion of providing service in support of others. And she translates that passion into her one-on-one and group coaching offerings. Laura believes that we are all capable of far more than we are currently experiencing, and she enjoys helping others become aware of this in themselves. She supports her clients by first getting crystal clear on their vision and then working on the strategy and mindset elements required to achieve that vision. She does this all with her own blend, of humor, good, authenticity, and a genuine desire to see everyone achieve their most amazing outcomes. Laura, are you there? Laura Barnes, come forward. And you are the winner on The Price is Right.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me, LeAnn.
Oh, I'm so excited to talk with you again. It was such a pleasure meeting you previously. And then here we are.
Here we are.
And should we tell them the secret?
Yeah, what's the secret?
The secret is I had to do this a day late.
Right.
This recording is a recording because we couldn't go live because we had a bit of adversity yesterday, didn't we?
Absolutely. Yes, we did. We both showed up though, so we
Good.
were there.
So Laura and I both showed up on time and we were texting back and forth because it just sometimes life shows up and interrupts things. And I think that's kind of what I was talking about in your introduction. Sometimes things
Mhm.
show up and then people put their entire dream on hold
Right.
and don't quite get back to it. And I think you've seen that before. Tell me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a common thing that it happens to a lot of people, especially a lot of women, because the things that show up in life for women that tend to be the derailing things could be family, it could be your partner's career, right? So having those things that show up in your life, it's happened to me multiple times where I was like, oh, I'm in a relationship and their thing is more important, their situation, their career, their focus is taking priority right now for whatever reason, whether it was the right reason or the wrong reason. And so I put the things that I wanted to do on hold. And so I think it's easy to slip into that and kind of default into it by accident. And so figuring out how to undo that default and slip back into pursuing what you actually want, like that's where my passion is.
Absolutely. And just to be fair, if anybody's watching the show, the video part of the show, I'm now holding up a pair of crutches because this is part of my interrupt at the moment. Not fun. Went on
Mhm.
vacation. Awesome. Came home on crutches. and
Not awesome.
2 times. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So, but that happens. And
Right.
it's a matter of what you do with those things when they happen. Do you can
hmm
show up for yourself and others and so forth? Is this part of what you kind of work through with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even you might notice right now my voice is a little bit different, a little off. I'm actually getting over a cold. I had the flu over the weekend, and it was very unpleasant. Really wanted to show up. I had quite a few things on my calendar for Sunday, and I really wanted to show up for those individuals and those clients, but I had to prioritize my health and myself and take the day off and just clear my calendar, which in the moment I felt so incredibly guilty. And then I, had a fever spell and I was like, actually, I'm fine. Like they don't want me when I'm feverish and awful. But yeah, working through those moments of adversity where sometimes you do have to prioritize your health or taking care of yourself or giving yourself more time to get up and down the stairs because you're on crutches, right? So sometimes we have to prioritize those things, but it's it's sort of I think of it like riding a wave, right? Like you ride the wave, but you don't ride the wave forever. Eventually the wave stops and then you get back to whatever the next thing was, whatever the prior priority was, for lack of a better term. But yeah, I think it really is about understanding that sometimes you have to give yourself some grace. You have to ride the waves as they come. But then when you have the ability to be in the driver's seat and choose your direction, choosing it purposefully and for the right reasons.
And so you work with a lot of business owners, am I right?
Yes. Mhm.
Primarily business owners.
Yes, business owners are people who are interested in becoming business owners. So they have that idea, they just haven't launched it yet. Or yeah, there's some at some level of either done it or want to do it. Yeah.
So we're very similar in that case, which is awesome. I do things
hmm
a lot differently though, because you're more involved in a coaching type of an aspect. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing. I mean, let's talk about coaching for a minute. So I
hmm
do not consider myself a coach. I'm more of a strategist. Like if you need something, come and talk to me. And I have a strategy. I have a solution.
hmm
I'm not so much the coach. I have my own interpretation of what a coach is. Do you want to share yours?
Yeah. So for me, coaching is really about asking questions and letting you be the expert in your own life. And we are surrounded by resources. All of us are. We are our own greatest resource. And I think we often forget about that. So as a coach, it's not my job to tell you what to do. It's simply my job to ask the questions and let you tap into the resources around you. Because your experience, your life, your circumstances will provide different resources that I may not be aware of and may not have access to. So to me, the difference between coaching and consulting or strategizing, and we do touch on strategy in the coaching work, but coaching is really about me asking the questions and giving you space to sort of wrestle with the concepts, the solutions, and what's going to fit for you. Whereas consulting is a little bit more prescriptive, like, take 2 pills and call me in the morning. That's
Yeah.
a little bit more consulting versus coaching is like, how would you like to solve this problem? What would be a resourceful solution for you? So I think that kind of frames it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's clearly space for both solutions because some
Yeah.
people are like, I don't want to have to go through. I don't want to analyze. I don't want to answer the questions. I just want to get it done. And those are great people that come to a solution oriented. And that's why coaches and consultants can work so well together, I think, as well. So very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's as the individual, I think there's a balance of finding, like, sometimes you really do need to wrestle with those concepts, especially when it comes to, like, why are you doing what you're doing? Whether it's working or not working, why are you doing it? So I think having the awareness that, like, yes, sometimes we need the pinpoint direction, give me a process that I can follow and let me run with it.
Mhm.
But then there are times where, I tell my clients a lot of times they are the thing getting in their own way. And I can't tell you why you're getting in your own way. That is something that you have to kind of sit with and wrestle with. But having the awareness that sometimes you need to sit with the concept, wrestle with it, figure out the right solution. And yeah, sometimes you do need just like the plug and play model that's going to get you over the hump to the next feel good moment so you get that momentum going for sure.
Let's agree. There's no app for your vision.
Correct.
I think that's absolutely true. There's there may be tools that can help you, if you have a vision of being a podcaster, there's tools
hmm
that can get you on that thing. And that's where the strategy and the can come in. But it's more what you're doing is a lot more really it's the vital part of being a business owner. You have to know your why. You have to know who you're passionate to serve. I
hmm
really believe that. If you don't have those things in place, no tool will get you there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things people struggle with the most is figuring out, what widget do they want to sell? What service do they want to provide? I've worked with a number of clients who, even before we start coaching together, that's part of the conversation up front is like, well, what do you want to do? What is this thing you want to bring to life? Why does that matter to you? And yeah, you're right. The vision is so critically important and it's very personal. No two visions are going to be the same because no two people or their experiences are the same. So, your vision is yours, and it's the thing that hopefully motivates you, drives you, and pulls you forward so that you're creating a life based on the vision you want to achieve as opposed to arbitrary goals set by somebody else.
And the good news is, once you have it locked down, it never changes. You move forward forever in the same direction. Am I right?
Oh, 100%.
That's
Your vision can
sarcasm.
never change. It's locked in. That's all you're ever going to be able to do forever. Yes.
Oh, my journey in the last 5 years has been so all over the place. And literally, at one point, I thought, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. And I worked with a coach, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. And they could not understand what I was saying. Partially just because, quite frankly, it was just so all over the place.
Right.
It sometimes just takes time. And
Yeah.
I don't say that it's the skill of that coach. It wasn't at all. I mean, they did their best. But I needed to go through some stuff. I had to figure out what would and wouldn't work. And quite frankly,
hmm
I had to get slapped down a couple of times before I
Yeah.
get to the point of the clarity that I'm actually at the moment. And I don't even pretend to think that this is the be all end all.
Yeah.
Journey. Let's hear a little bit about your journey.
So my journey has been a little bit all over the place. I'm a constantly curious person. So I love learning. I love taking on new challenges, and I really do love being around people. I am the epitome of an extrovert. So I get a lot of energy from conversations with people, interacting with groups. I was really drawn to the world of hospitality when I was in college or in high school. I had a summer job working in a hotel, loved the environment, decided to pursue a career in hospitality, and genuinely loved that space. I loved, meeting people from all over the world, having conversations, learning about their stories. And as my career progressed, I realized that, people are the core of everything I've done. So I worked in hospitality, working in luxury hotels. I then transitioned into managing people's private homes. So being able to provide one-on-one personalized support in high-end homes, taking care of everything from grocery shopping and cooking meals and doing laundry to managing nannies and taking dogs to the vet and the groomer and everything in between, party planning, vehicle maintenance, all the things. And so it was really just about being able to provide that high level of support on a very personalized basis, really knowing somebody's life and lifestyle, the challenges they were dealing with. It doesn't matter how successful you are. If you have teenagers, you're still going to have challenges. Your kids are going to go through things. If you have toddlers, your kids are going to go through things. If you have a significant other, if you have a life, there will be things that come up. So it doesn't matter how much money you make or how much money you don't make. We all have things that we go through. And I find it both a privilege and an honor to be able to share that space with the people I'm working with and support them through whatever they're dealing with in whatever capacity my role is in that moment.
So are you still doing that?
No, so I don't do the private service anymore. I still love it. I still am occasionally called in to consult and help people who, need advice on hiring staff, setting up their home. But it's not the focus of my business. I now focus on the meta performance executive coaching as my primary focus.
Okay, so I mean, first of all, I have 1,000 questions about what you were just sharing because that sounds fascinating, truly. I
Yes,
mean, you worked for Tom Cruise, right? Just kidding.
obviously.
I did actually interview or meet somebody who did work with Tom Cruise. It was pretty fun.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's definitely a different lifestyle at that level
Hmm.
than I would say the majority. And I have no idea where you fall into that whole thing, but of social whatever.
Yeah.
But wow, that would be how many years did you do that?
So I worked in private service for about 5 years, I want to say,
Okay.
around 5 or 6 years. And moved all over the country, provided me some great opportunities. I lived in South Carolina, Washington State, and Colorado when I was doing that. So met some amazing people and got to see new parts of the country as well.
And then just one day you're like, nope, moving on.
I really discovered or knew that I had a passion for the coaching, the development. Just helping people improve their lives, not through the services I was providing. Like I, of course, loved being of service to people when I was in their homes, but I really have a passion for personal development, personal growth, and I guess I've kind of always gravitated towards that. So I had an opportunity to go work for the school that trained me to be a household manager, and I was doing a little bit of everything in that school. I also started teaching Myers-Briggs personality assessments, so I was doing workshops for our students in that space, and that's really where I tapped into like loving personal development, realizing that there's so many tools and resources out there. So that was kind of my first step into the coaching side of things, and realized I loved it so much that I was going to figure out, come hell or high water, I was going to find a way to coach other people and help them create the most amazing life possible through whatever means and resources they had available to them.
Very cool. I had no idea. I guess it makes sense that there would be some sort of an organization that teaches people to become household managers. That blows my mind a little, but that's cool. It's
Yeah.
got to be a big school. But fun fact, my daughter has her degree in hospitality
Oh, awesome.
and security management. Security risk management was her, I think, minor as well.
Very cool. Yeah.
And she's living that out right now. I think it's fascinating how our early careers, and I'm not saying this is true for her, she might be in hospitality forever. Your early career was hospitality, my early career was teaching, and it still lays that foundation for whatever it is that we transition into later in life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's to some degree, I think there's a level of when you become really well versed in something and you know it so well and you're passionate about it, you want to be able to teach it to others. Some people want to. Some people want to just do the work, and that's fantastic. But some people want to go out and teach it to others. Like that's why you become a professor, or you start your own business, or you become a consultant or a coach. So I think there's something to be said for finding a thing you're passionate about and then finding a way to continue doing that and sharing that with others. Like sharing your passion with people is, I think, hopefully it brings you joy. Brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah. Well, and my company's name is Joy Minder Solution. Your reminder to have joy.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely true. It does sound like you've gone from, a lot of your extrovert hospitality, doing for other people on a personal level more so, that you have turned the corner to a different realm when you go more into the personal development, which you did a lot of personal development to be in
Mhm.
hospitality. You just have to.
Yeah,
You pretty much
absolutely.
have to know yourself
Yeah.
to handle all those personalities.
Yeah, it's I think it's you either have to know yourself or have no desire to know yourself. One of the two. But yeah, I think personal development for me again, I've just always been a curious person, and so for me, curiosity isn't just curiosity about the world around me, it's also curiosity about myself. Like, oh, why do I think that way about that? Why do when somebody says they love a particular food and I go, ew, I don't like that. Why don't I like it? Right. So just having that sense of curiosity and questioning myself, not questioning myself like, should I jump off this cliff or not? Right. But like, why do I have this belief? Why do I believe, why do I prefer one over the other? I think just again sort of lends itself to why I enjoy coaching so much, being able to have those conversations and dig into that with clients and help them walk down that path that's not apparently not as common or comfortable for everyone as it is for me.
Right, absolutely. As you can see, I like to read, and I've got a lot of books behind me.
Yeah.
And Tony Robbins, of course, is the big player in the self-help world. Is he somebody that you follow, or do you have other people that you're more in touch with?
So I have followed Tony Robbins. I will say he's not my favorite. Just no, and I just am contradicting myself a little bit. Um, it's just one of those things. Like I've analyzed it. I'm like, I like his content. I like him as a person. I don't know. I don't always jive with it. So there, I can't really explain it. But Mel Robbins is actually one that I found and really like and have ascribed to for a number of years. She's the creator of the 5 second rule, the high five habit. So those are a couple of great aspect or books that she has and tools that she uses in her coaching and speaking. And she's really about mindset and I love her attitude. She's kind of a no BS East Coast mindset, like, and she's just fantastic. And she's real and she's authentic. And so it's just, yeah, I really have been drawn to her over the years.
Were you raised on the East Coast?
No, I jokingly tell people like I was born in California and then grew up primarily in Colorado. But I tell people that I'm like a West Coaster with an East Coast attitude. I really prefer that sort of like down to earth, no BS, like just say what you need to say and move on. I can be very direct. I tend to be very sarcastic and a little bit witty, sassy, if you will. So I have a little bit more of an East Coast vibe, but definitely was raised on the West Coast.
Fascinating. I
Yeah.
remember at an earlier point in my career, I had a very definite preference for West Coast, East Coast, Midwest. Usually going with the Midwest because that's where I'm from and that's what I'm more comfortable with. Um, but if I had to choose West Coast versus East Coast, I'd also go East Coast. Just get it over with, get it done. West Coast, my experience, especially in LA, was just like you never knew when things were going to happen. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. It was almost like a Italian thing, like, oh yeah, we'll get to it when we feel like it,
Right.
kind of thing. I'm like, no, no, get it done, show up on time. And I think
Yep.
both have that, like show up, be there when you say you're going to be there, do what you say you're going to do, and move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually, it's funny you mentioned that because that is integrity. You just defined integrity, and that is 100% like that is a core element of the coaching work that we do as well.
What are
I
you
know.
saying? Californians don't have integrity. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not saying that at all. But yeah, so integrity is it's such an integral part of the coaching relationship, and that's really for me anyways, that's what helps clients go beyond high performance and create new results in their lives. And one of the things that I've discovered not only for myself but with working with clients is when you're out of integrity even with yourself, it impacts your ability to show up in the world, your ability to do anything really. So that integrity piece, like do what you say you're going to do by when you say you're going to do it. If you can't do it, acknowledge it before you miss the deadline. Keeping people in the loop, having that level of respect, again, for yourself and for others. Like it's a huge piece of the coaching process. And we talk about it. We actually have tools that we use when people are out of integrity. We go through a coaching process that really is about like, why was the commitment broken? What happened? What could you do differently? So there is a process to it that really helps people get real with themselves. Like, why didn't I meet that commitment? I don't know. And it's an uncomfortable process, but it's a necessary one, and it's so enlightening and can open your eyes so much in a very short period of time.
Oh, that's great. Is this a process that you've learned through Mel Robbins or something else?
No, so that's one that I learned through the Meta Performance Institute, which is where I got the Meta Performance coaching certification. And it's called the growth process. And it's really about growing through a broken commitment. So in the coaching space, I invite my clients to make commitments at every session. So the things that you are going to do that are going to move the needle towards the thing you're trying to accomplish, the big thing. And if you break a commitment, we have a conversation about it. And we love broken commitments. There's no judgment. It doesn't make you a bad person if you break a commitment, but it's a place to have a conversation about it. And again, to get really honest with yourself about why the commitment was broken. So we talk about the different reasons. what got in the way, which tends to be an excuse. Like, oh, well, I had to feed the dog, so I couldn't send that email, right? So we have those conversations, we get really honest and real about it, and then we work through how you can overcome that in the future, what needs to change, and different elements and ways to kind of address it going forward.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. In fact, right before our conversation today, I was working with a business owner who's on a similar track that I'm on in terms of where we're going, what we're doing, what our visions are, very similar visions.
Hmm.
So there's some training we have to do. And we've made the commitment now to get together online. We're not even in the same place, but just be on silent on Zoom and commit to be doing the work because we have to do
Yeah.
it ourselves. But there's and I have another tool, actually, a whole group of people that do that on the regular 24 hours a day. You can
Wow.
jump onto a Zoom just for the accountability of, and you state at the beginning of the hour, this is what I'm going to do, and that's what you work on. So that
Yeah.
it's amazing. The commitment thing is really important, and there are a lot of tools to help people with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you probably have heard this before, but the reason most people hire a personal trainer is not because they don't know how to work out. That might be the first like 3 months is like learning how to lift the weights properly and correct form and all that, right? But the number one reason why people hire a personal trainer is accountability.
Yep.
It's because I need somebody to call me out when I don't show up at 6 a.m. like I said I was going to. And same thing with a coach, right? Like I honestly believe that nobody really needs a coach, but having a coach can help you get where you want to go faster with greater satisfaction and hopefully having fun along the way. Because there's that built-in accountability where it's like, I'm going to show up for this because I'm investing in myself and my growth and development.
I love that. It's very, very true. And to be honest, I did recently rehire a personal trainer.
Mhm.
If I don't get there faster, well, unfortunately, I'm on hold for about 6 weeks. But
Right.
having that to go back to, that person will also be able to help me get back on my feet faster, stronger, but also not re-injure myself. So there's a really good point to having a coach in any area of your life if you can do it.
Yeah,
A lot of other resources out there as well. In fact,
absolutely.
your website, if it says something about sports in it, am I correct?
Yes, so my company is called Leadership Beyond Sport. And so it was created sort of during the pandemic. I created my company initially to provide coaching and consulting services to sport management students. That was my graduate degree was in sport management. So the company was created with that audience in mind and has evolved from there. I love sports. I know, unfortunately, in the world of sport, a lot of people will get a degree in sports and then leave that industry for a variety of reasons. And so when I created the name, it was sort of like, if you have the leadership skills, if you have the skills that will extend beyond the realm of sport, they're actually going to benefit you no matter what career you choose. So I love working with people in sports. I love working with sport management students. I love working with business owners. So I've worked with people across all spectrums. But yes, Leadership Beyond Sport is the name of my company.
Which, hey, points right back to what we talked about earlier, that you start out with a vision, you start out with an idea, and sometimes it changes a little bit.
Mhm.
And,
Absolutely.
said it happened in my business, it's happened in yours as well. So there you go. It's fun how things come around full circle in conversations sometimes.
Yeah, and to that point, I tell clients all the time, like the vision can change, right? Like there's nothing wrong with your vision changing. But if your vision is changing because it got too hard or I just didn't want to anymore, right? Like those are the reasons that we're going to dig into a little bit more as opposed to like actually no, that's not where my passion is anymore. Or I found this thing that is more aligned with what I actually wanted to create. Like you said, in your story, it sounds like there were some things that you weren't quite dialed in on. And so the vision changed once you got more dialed in, once you had more experiences and more built more awareness. And I mean, same thing happened to me in many different cases. But so the reason the vision changes is different for everyone. But I think when people change the vision because the work to get there is too difficult, that's where it's like, nah, that's when you need a trainer, a coach to help you lift, put more weight on the bar, lift it properly, and get you there.
100%. I a couple of years ago, well, 2020 pandemic, and we've got all this stuff going on. Things that, yeah, I thought I was going to start a travel agency. I actually did in 2019. Well,
Hmm.
8 months later, nobody can travel. Yay! What do you do? Again, adversity. And I had to figure out what to do. And a few months later, somebody approached me and they said, "LeAnn, you know people, you network, you do a lot, you care about your community. How about becoming a real estate agent?" I'm like, thought about it before. Who hasn't? I mean,
Right.
literally, I think there's one out of six people has or has had a real estate license. That's so many people.
That is a
Think
lot of
how many
people.
people are on your street.
Yeah.
And one in six adults, or I might be off on the stat, but it's huge.
Hmm.
So I had nothing else to do. I sat on my porch. I did the 90 hours required in Minnesota, got my license, and even sold some houses, including my own, a couple times.
Hmm.
Grateful I have it, still have my license, but really discovered not my passion.
Right.
The work required to be a real estate agent, and I bless the people who are really, really good at it. But it wasn't my thing. I did not have the passion for it. I hated my evenings and weekends being broken up with phone calls and neediness, which,
Hmm.
quite frankly, business consulting, there's not usually an emergency that has to happen.
Right.
Take a day off. So not the case for real estate. So, you know, live and learn. I can still claim it. Real estate's not easy to actually in Minnesota, it's quite difficult to get a
Yeah.
license. So
Well,
there's
good
some
for you. I mean, you put your COVID hours to good work, right?
more or less. Yeah. And quite frankly, selling our house, more than paid for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's good reason to get a license, but if it's not your passion, get back to what you're really called to do. And I didn't plan for real estate to be a replacement for what I was working towards. I thought
Hmm.
I could make it part of, and that I could serve real estate people, which I still want to do, still love to do. Because
Yeah.
some of them don't realize that they're business owners.
What? I had no idea.
You do, though. Isn't that interesting, though, when you meet people and they're like, "No, I work for," and you're like, "Nope, you're a 1099 for,
Right.
you're a business owner."
Yeah, and the fact that we don't, this is a bit of a tangent, but we don't have these conversations with people young enough, right? Like when they're in high school or college, we don't explain to somebody the difference between being a 1099 versus a salaried employee versus an hourly employee versus a like temporary employee, right? We're not having those conversations so that people have a better awareness of it. So, yeah, when you have that conversation, you're like, "Oh no, you're a 1099 for, you're a business owner. What are you doing?" And they're like, "I don't know how to run a business." So now it's intimidating, it's overwhelming, and it doesn't have to be. There are so many ways to streamline it and make it, like, to your point, like strategies and systems and processes that can be put in place that we just don't share enough about that until they're in it. And then it feels like you're, treading water just trying to stay afloat sometimes.
Yeah. Another misconception I've had from people, so another uh, part-time job that I've had, because sometimes you have to supplement when you're
Hmm.
out. I actually drove Uber when the Super Bowl came to Minnesota.
Me too.
Yeah. So, you do that and it's fun. I mean, you get to meet a lot of people. Now, you're an all-out extrovert. I'm more of a social introvert.
Hmm.
So it worked for me though. I got to meet people. I actually built myself up in a travel network marketing company because of it.
Hmm.
Because I met people going to and from the airport a lot.
Yeah.
But the one gentleman, I still remember him. I could actually picture his face. He's like, "Oh, I'd love to own a business." And he was really handy with his hands. He could do a lot of things. And I said,
Hmm.
"Start." He goes, "Well, I have to go to school. I have to get a degree." And I'm like, "Nope,
Nope.
not at all." So
Yeah.
yeah, what are other misconceptions you think that starting up people have when they're looking at starting a business, or they have an idea or a desire to serve in some sort of way?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what you just said. I mean, that belief that I have to be an expert, I have to know everything in order to take the first step. I equate it to playing a video game. And you can't beat level 10 of the video game with level 1 skills and tools. So, but like as you progress levels 1 through 9, you're going to acquire the skills and the tools and the whatever you need to conquer that challenge in level 10. So it's about taking the first step, trusting that you're going to learn what you need to learn on steps 1 through 9, so that when you get to step 10, you know what to do. Um, I think other misconceptions that a lot of people starting out have, that they have to do everything and know every part of their business. I think there's a level of, you should have familiarity with it, right? Especially as it comes to the finances. You should know what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. You should know where your money's going to, where it's coming from. Absolutely. Um, but there are certain things that I will never be an expert in. I will never be an expert in search engine optimization because I don't want to be. And there are brilliant people out there who are experts at that and who want to do work in that space. And it's almost rude of me to not hire them. So, as the business owner, you get to decide where is your genius and how do you want to allocate your limited resources of time, energy, and talent. Where do you want to put that? And then hire other people to do the rest. So you don't have to be an expert in everything. You don't have to know every single detail of every single thing that's happening in your business. I think that being a good judge of character and knowing how to find and vet people is actually more important than knowing search engine optimization or every marketing strategy out there or whatever else might be coming up. Um, yeah, so those are the ones that come to mind first, but I'm curious, what are some that come up for you?
Well, first of all, I want to say your video game analogy. Ah, love it. So true, though. And I'm not
Yeah.
even a gamer typically, although I had one game that I was watching playing for a long time until I realized I was playing it a lot. And I actually just stopped playing months ago. One of the other players actually found me online, is like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I appreciate the care, but I really
Right.
back to my business. I need to get back to what I'm really called to do in this life." And in my worldview, I believe that I was given a purpose before I was born, that there is a mission for me to carry out. And that when I'm not on mission, when I'm not moving towards that ultimate purpose, then I'm actually, I won't say failing in my life, but I'm off track, and I don't want
Right.
to be off track. I like to be on track, and I want to fulfill what it is that I'm here and called to do.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I want to, instead of going back to other business owners, although I do have a summit coming up, and this ties into a couple of things. 3 times a year, I run a summit called the Restart Your Business Summit. And the purpose of it is to, again, to bring in experts like yourself, hint, hint, wink, wink, and say, would you like to speak to this audience of up and coming business people?
Mhm.
And but by doing that, I schedule it out 3 times. If you look on the website, you'll see there's one coming up. And I run them on September, I run them in January, I run them in May, very strategically. And that kind of helps force me to stay on top of things.
Yeah.
I do get behind, don't get me wrong, I will. And I'm working on that with my virtual assistants to say, hey, what do we need to do? We revamped our project management system, which we use Trello. You use Asana, I believe you said,
Mhm.
to help with that. And that's again a tool and a tool choice that people can make depending on what works with their businesses.
Yeah.
All that, I was going to say that, um, no, I forgot for a second. Um, we'll move back. Anything you want to add into what I just shared?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things that you brought up, like having a virtual assistant, I'm a firm believer in business owners, people who are up to stuff, even if the thing you're up to is becoming the best president of PTA that the PTA has ever seen. Like you're a stay-at-home mom and you're like killing it at the mom game. I am incredibly proud of you. I admire you and you want to be the best PTA president ever. Cool. I also believe that every single one of us can outsource certain aspects of our lives. There are things that, again, do not require your time, talent, or energy to complete. And so the fact that you hired a virtual assistant, I think that's like a testament to knowing that you had a lot going on, probably, and you didn't want things to slip through the cracks. And so you were like, how can I create success for myself? And you found a virtual assistant who is a person, but the work they're doing is actually a tool for your success. And I think too many of us don't, we don't think about what we can outsource. You don't have to be the only person cleaning your house. You don't have to be the only person buying your groceries. You don't have to be the only person walking your dog, right? These are simple things that I know on the surface, I know people are going to push back. They're like, my dog loves me and I love my dog and I have to walk my dog. I get it. But in an emergency or in a situation where is the hour-long walk with the dog the best use of your energy and your time today? Or having that conversation, moving the needle on your vision, moving the needle on your business, could you bring somebody in to walk your dog twice a week
Mhm.
so that you can recapture that time? So those kinds of things I think are aspects that people don't often think about. But yeah, again, we are surrounded by resources and opportunities and tools in the form of service providers who also by hiring them, you're helping somebody else pay their bills.
Yeah,
So you're
and beyond
actually,
that, sometimes you're helping somebody else build their business, build their vision.
yes.
Guess what? I do not like cleaning. Don't tell my husband. Oh, he knows. But there's when I've hired help in that realm and I have a conversation with these people, they love it. And I'm like, what do you love
Mhm.
about it? And they share what they love about it. And the answer they give me is not all the same because they all have their different reasons. But
Yep.
it will bring back the person who just has a passion for it. She's like, man, I just love leaving the house knowing I left it in a better place than when I arrived, and not hire the person who says, yeah, I just need the money.
Right.
Go for the passion. And
Yep.
that's where you're really going to get, because the person who just needs the money, they may not show up the next time because they don't. But the person who,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, even for you and I, when it comes to clients hiring us, yes, we are a person and we are providing a service and we are going to show up to the best of our ability every single time for those clients. But they're hiring us for the utility that we provide in the sense that we are providing them with a different way to look at challenges, a different way to approach problems, a different way to think about themselves and others. And that's something that it's a tool. It's a tool for their success, and it's an investment. So I think that outsourcing when you can and hiring the right people to do the right things in your business, including coaches and consultants, I think it can exponentially increase the rate of success that a business owner um, experiences.
Laura, I could keep talking to you forever. And I do remember what I forgot earlier. There's a
Oh,
book
got it.
out called Persuasion. It's a yellow cover. There's several books out there called Persuasion. Apparently, you don't copyright that. But yellow cover. And I think in chapter 2 or 3, she touches on what you already touched on, is that integrity kind of point. She says basically you cannot persuade anybody else if they have a sense of you not being who you say you are, or not following through on things. The integrity.
Mm, yeah.
She said, her company deals with large corporations who have integrity problems, where they're like,
Yeah.
we want to be the best bank in the world, but we're going to really stick it to you this way and that way, right? And that's actually one of the examples she gives. Um, so owning up to our own failings.
Hmm.
And it's making me aware, even with my VAs, and I have two. I'm looking to have a couple others, owning up to them. Look, I know that sometimes I say and have a bigger vision than I'm able to follow through on, but that's why I hire them.
Yeah.
I hire people that can help me. I know I'm a visionary. Are you familiar with Traction, this book back here?
Ironically enough, I was on a call literally an hour before we started today, and the guy that I was on the call with mentioned that book. So now, like, that's twice in one day. That means I have to go get
Gotta go get it.
it.
The supplementary book as well, which you may find interesting, called Rocket Fuel. And
Mm,
Fraction gives the whole layout of how to do things and it's really meant for a business that has employees more so than 1099s, just saying. But also, the other book is called Rocket Fuel, and that's about the two key people. One is the visionary, and the other is the integrator.
Yep.
And knowing which piece you fall into. I'm definitely on the visionary part. I need an integrator. I need
Hmm.
an integrator to really make my rocket take off, so to speak. Fortunately, my husband is an integrator, not by nature, and so we've worked really well together in businesses in the past. So that's a blessing.
Yeah, and I think it's great that I think business owners achieve more success when they do exactly what you just talked about. You're aware of where your strengths are, and you know that you need to bring other people in to get it over the finish line.
Yeah.
I tend to be a visionary too. I also I kind of nerd out on processes and procedures and systems. So I'm a unique blend of both. I don't always do the execution as well as I could. But it's a learning process for me, and I'm constantly evolving and constantly upgrading my own internal systems to say like, okay, how can I be better at executing this big vision that I have? And one thing that we say when we talk about vision is if it doesn't include other people, it's not big enough.
Mm. Absolutely.
And yeah, and that's sometimes when I say that to people, they think like, oh yeah, the vision, once I accomplish it, it'll impact hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And I go, that's cool. But like, how many people is it going to impact in the creation of the vision, in the realization of it? How
Yeah.
many people can you bring in to help make it a reality? Again, you're giving those people jobs, you're bringing them into your purpose and your passion, and you're sharing that with them. And so that's the other piece of if your vision isn't big enough or it doesn't involve other people, it's not big enough.
Yeah, it's something else we were talking about earlier in terms of outsourcing. One thing you listed several really great examples, but you can also outsource your income. Guess that. That's what
Mm,
salespeople are. I mean,
yep.
when you get to the point that you know your system, you know your process, and you can outsource to the fact that you have salespeople that can help that basically you're outsourcing your income. Isn't that kind of fun?
Yeah, I love that. That's a brilliant way to look at that. I love it. I was almost thinking like residual income, but you took it to a totally different level.
And I'm a huge fan of residual. Absolutely.
Right.
Do that as well. I encourage everybody. In fact, in the book of Ecclesiastes, there's a quote that says we should have seven, indeed eight, sources of income.
Hmm.
That's a 2,000-year-old book or more. I don't know exactly the date that it was written, but I mean, it's biblical, it's ancient wisdom. I think that was written by King Solomon, which is a
Hmm.
pile of
Interesting.
time ago.
Yeah. Yeah,
See? We
that's
should have
very
seven, indeed, eight sources of income. I have one final question. I know we've gone a little bit long. I'm sorry. Can you
no,
wait for
I
just a minute? I have one more big question I'd love to ask you.
absolutely.
Cool. So we talked about you getting interested in hospitality back in high school. Um, Before that, and this is a question I ask on my show with everybody, when you were in the age of, let's say, 10, maybe 8,
Hmm.
9, you're independent enough to maybe, like for this morning, I had a little neighbor girl come over and she helps carry my coffee from the counter to the chair because I can't. And she checked on the cat and she put out some fresh water and she watered my plants.
Hmm.
Those are things that a kid that age can do. And it was such a blessing. So good to have neighbors sometimes.
Yeah.
But so you're at an age where you can do some things independently, but you can't have a job really, nor do you really want one because you're at a cool stage in life. What did you do? Where did you find yourself at that age? What was your passion? Do you recall?
Gosh, so when I was 10,
So we're talking about fourth and fifth grade-ish. Third.
yeah. So I'm the youngest of three, so I have two older brothers. We lived in a small town in Western Colorado, and I think that I was also very I'm very bright academically, so I love school, love learning. Read a lot as a kid, so I was probably reading a book or riding my bike around town, going to my friends' houses. Again, it was back in the day when there was a landline, no cell phones, and so the rule was call me and tell me where you're going to go. My parents, both worked outside of the home, so I would have to call my mom, tell her where I was going, call her when I got there to let her know I made it safely, call her before I came home, but I would ride my bike around town, ride my bike down to the pool in the middle of town and meet my friends and go swimming for the day during summer vacations. In the winter, we were in ski school, so we would get on the bus on Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. and they'd take us up to the mountain and we'd ski all day lessons and then come home and parents would have pizza and a movie and we'd all be asleep by 8 o'clock. So yeah, so I guess that was my childhood was just kind of spending time with friends, hanging out with my brothers, or running away from my brothers because they're older than me and bigger than me, and I wasn't always their favorite person. But yeah, I think it was the sense of adventure. I loved adventuring. We were also the family that took road trips. So, we would do road trips from Colorado to California to visit family out there. So yeah, it was a lot of adventure and just in different forms and fashions.
Well, Laura, our lives have been very much in parallel. I just got to think right now. I mean, even to the fact that I loved reading as a kid too. I spent so much time, but also outside, also in the way before pre cell phone era. But it sounds to me like you also lived in an era like I did, where at that age we had the freedom and flexibility to get out, to just wander, and people were
hmm
safe. Um,
Yeah.
I
And
walked a mile to the bookstore every week to
yep,
buy a new book, and walked the mile back. And I was along a fairly busy road. But when
yep.
my parents knew where I was going and that I knew where I was going, off I went.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that there's something to be said for that lifestyle of just giving kids the opportunity to explore and problem solve on their own. I think that's partially why I got into coaching is because I see the need for sometimes I think we're lacking critical thinking skills. We're lacking the problem solving skills. And when you're left to your own devices, and I had two very involved great parents, right? Like it wasn't like I was abandoned for days on end,
Mm.
which I think is what kids would imagine now if they're like, I didn't see my parents for 10 hours today and there was no adult around. For us as kids, it was like you're left to your own devices. And if you lock yourself out of the house, like you got to figure out who's the smallest person who can crawl through the doggy door, right? Like, how are you getting back into the house because you have no way of calling mom and dad to say I'm locked out. You don't have a cell phone. You don't have so I think there's just a level of problem solving and critical thinking that comes from being that generation that was like, well, I got to figure it out because mom won't be home for 6 hours and this problem's not going to solve itself.
Right, I agree. Well, it's clear then that where you are today and what you're doing today ties back to all of that, the independence, the freedom, the problem solving, the
Yes.
curiosity. And that's what I've often found with the business owners and leaders that I talk with on the show is that opportunity to truly just I think you're at your happiest when you're able to fulfill and achieve that feeling that we had back at that age. That's
Yeah,
my feeling.
absolutely.
And once in a while, I come across a leader who realizes in our conversation, even saying, I'm not doing that.
Mm.
It can be a shift. So it's kind of fun. But you are clearly self-actualized your inner.
I'm doing it more and more. There are times where I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling a little stifled right now. Like, let's go do something fun and free and freeing. So definitely, it's a great awareness. So I'm glad you're able to bring that to people, even on your show. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And it's fun to hear where people are at because the answer I get every single time is, of course, unique.
Yeah, absolutely.
Truly, we have so much that we could keep talking about. I know we could keep talking, and perhaps we will again.
Yes, I'd love to. Thank you so much for having me today, LeAnn. This was awesome.
And before we go, I'd love for you to tell people how can they find you if they want more information? Where do they go? Do you have an offer or something that they can get to work with you or whatever else it might be? Go ahead.
Yeah, so my website, leadershipbeyondsport.com. It is the best place to get in touch with me. You can contact me there on the website. You can also book a free vision call. So those are totally complimentary. It's about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. So I always tell people build in some buffer time because sometimes we get to the juicy stuff right towards the end. But yeah, I love offering the free vision calls. It's a great way to tap into what excites you, what lights you up, what you're really passionate about and want to move towards. So leadership beyond sport and book a free vision call. And I would love to connect with anyone in your audience.
And yet again, another similarity. I don't book minute to minute most of the time. I always include a buffer because I know that you're right. The best parts can come right at the end. So I want to thank you so
Absolutely.
much, Laura, for being here today. Any final words?
I truly believe that every single one of us is capable of far more than we're currently experiencing. And my wish for everyone is that you find a way to tap into what lights you up, what brings your passion and joy to life, and that you pursue it fearlessly and authentically. And thank you so much.
My pleasure. So, thank you, audience, for joining Laura and me on this journey to unleash your joyful business potential. Remember, leadership is a journey, it's a voyage we take together. So, keep shining and aligning with your purpose. Come on back every week at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Central, exclusively on winwinwomen.tv for our next inspiring episode. Until next time, this is LeAnn, your Chief Joy Officer, signing off. Keep leading with heart, and I'll catch you on the next wave of success. Farewell, and keep spreading joy.